What's up, sports fans? This is the NCAA College Sports Channel. It is time to give you my official game picks and predictions heading into the official final week of the regular season and also week number 14/Rivalry weekend of the 2025 college football season. Yes, one of my favorite weekends of college football that I look forward to is Rival Week. I look forward to these games every single year. Rivalries that really mean a lot, and then also conference championship races are still heating up, and then you got some playoff hopes on the line as well. So how about week 14? We got a bunch of big rivalry games, except for one. This is not like typically a big rival, but you'll see it here in just a second. But I picked out 10 of the biggest rival games, in my opinion, for week number 14. And as of this recording, I am recording this on a Tuesday because I do have a lot of things going up on Thanksgiving Day. So as of this recording, it was recorded on Tuesday, but you're going to see this pop up here on today, on Thursday. So happy Thanksgiving to all my subscribers out there. And hopefully you have a great Thanksgiving on this Thursday. So we got some games coming up tomorrow night. Let's get into these games. And before that, I went 7-3 last week, and my overall record is now 82-48. This will be the final video of the week-by-week predictions and everything. I might do conference championship game predictions next week, but let's see what we do here for this week first. So we start here with a Friday night game. So this one is tomorrow night. We got Ole Miss at Mississippi State. The Egg Bowl. This one's at noon Eastern time on ABC. Ole Miss is favored by 6.5 points in this one. Obviously, the big storyline here for Ole Miss is Lane Kiffin. You got a question about his job and everything. Is he going to stay at Ole Miss here for another year, or is he going to leave? That's really the big question here for Ole Miss. They're sitting there with 10 wins. They're 10-1. One win possibly away from, being an automatic bid into the college football playoff. Mississippi State sitting there with 5 wins. They're 1 win away from being bowl eligible. It's been a pretty up and down season for them, and we've seen a lot of crazy games here in the Egg Bowl throughout the history of this rivalry. And sometimes it seems like the team that is on the verge of not being in a bowl game and also having a chance, it seems like that team always wins. But I think Ole Miss is kind of too much here for Mississippi State. I just don't think the Bulldogs don't really have much of a test here. I mean, they have a test here, but also I think Ole Miss is the more talented team, and I do trust Ole Miss's quarterback a lot more than Blake Shapen. He's played pretty well this year and as of late, so I think Ole Miss does win it here, but it is a close game, and a lot of these rivalry games are going to be close. But I got to go with Ole Miss here. 34-27, the final score in this rivalry football matchup in the Egg Bowl. Next up, we have Georgia at Georgia Tech, 3:30 Eastern time on also Friday night. This one will be on ABC, not Friday night, but 3:30 Eastern time later in the afternoon. And look at that spread there. Georgia favored by 14.5. That's a pretty high number in my opinion for a Georgia team that beat an easy opponent, from last week, and then a couple weeks ago beat Texas. And I get it, Georgia's been on a row as of late, but you look at this Georgia Tech team, I should say. I know they're coming off a loss to Pittsburgh, but I think they'll come out really focused in this game. It is a rivalry after all, and then also I think they'll come in a little bit angry, especially after losing to Pittsburgh. I mean, they have really nothing to lose at this point. I mean, they're pretty much out of the college football playoff, but they can finish with 10 wins in the regular season. So although the spread is at 14.5, I think this is a closer game than you might not expect. But I got to go with Georgia here, the more talented team. I think Gunnar Stockton does make some plays here for Georgia. And I think the running game will kind of wear Georgia Tech down as well, just like it did last week against Pittsburgh. And I think Georgia pulls away. I think they win this one by at least double digits, though. But I'm going with an 11-point win. 31-20, the final score in this rivalry matchup. Next up, Texas A&M at Texas, 7:30 Eastern time on ABC. Texas A&M favored by 2.5. Oh boy, this is a very tough one here for me to choose. You got Texas A&M, who is undefeated. A lot of pressure on them here, going into this game because they're sitting there as an undefeated team in the regular season, but then also they got to win this game in order to make it to the SEC championship. Texas A&M's been a really impressive team all season long. They've had some close games, but really not very much. I mean, it just shows you how talented this team is and what Mike Norvell has, or not Mike Norvell, but, Mike Elko's got for this team in the future. And then Texas here, they've been up and down all season long, coming off a win against Arkansas last week. A couple weeks ago, they didn't look great against Georgia, against a very talented team. So for that reason, I just don't really trust Texas that much. But it is a rivalry game. It's in Austin. This will be a big game here for Texas A&M. I think the pressure is on them, but I think Texas A&M, Marcel Reed, I think will lead this offense with his running ability, and I don't think Texas can stop him. So for that reason, I think Texas A&M gets revenge on Texas from last year's game, and they beat them at their home place. Now in the preseason, I did pick Texas to win, but I wasn't really expecting Texas to be up and down this year, and you just never know what can happen in these preseason predictions. So I'm going the Aggies here, 24-21. Next up, Arizona at Arizona State, 9 o'clock Eastern time on Fox. Arizona State favored by half a point. That's a pretty low number as well, but it is a rivalry, and I get it. This is a pretty even matchup here between these two teams. Both of them are sitting there at 8-3. Both of these teams definitely kind of different compared to last year. Arizona was terrible last year, and they've been a pretty big surprise team this year. Arizona State kind of the same thing, but they are not the team that, won the Big 12 championship, just from last year. They're not there this year, but this is still a pretty good Arizona State team. And I look at this matchup, I just think it's pretty even. Flip a coin, I've been back and forth on this game. And for that reason, I think home field advantage will be the difference, and that does favor the Sun Devils. And this game was a blowout last year. I do expect a closer game this time, and I think the Sun Devils do prevail, though. They win it 27-24, the final score in this matchup. Next up, we go to the Saturday games, Kentucky at Louisville. This one is at noon Eastern time on the ACC Network. Louisville favored by 3.5 in this one. Battle of the Bluegrass, the Governor's Cup, and I really put this game on here because I am a Kentucky fan, and you got to put this on here if you're a fan of a Pacific team. So yeah, Kentucky and Louisville here. The difference here between these two teams, or I wouldn't really say difference, they're both coming off similar losses last week, both by blowouts. Louisville has lost 3 in a row, though. What has happened to Louisville? I mean, ever since they were 7-1, this team has gone downhill. Have they given up on Jeff Brom, or is it just the injuries that have caught up to them? That's definitely a big question mark going into this game. Is Miller Moss going to be able to play? And then for Kentucky, they were banged up a little bit last week as well. So yeah, both of these teams have battled some injuries throughout the year. I think this is also a pretty even matchup, but based off of what Louisville's been doing the last 3 weeks, I don't really trust them for that reason. So I am actually going to go with an upset here. I think Kentucky goes on the road and they beat Louisville here 28-24. And I think Cutter Boley's experience at quarterback will kind of cause some problems here for Louisville as well. And I'm not saying that, he definitely doesn't have much more experience than Miller Moss. If Miller Moss does play, I think Louisville probably wins it. But if he doesn't, I think Kentucky probably wins it here as well. So yeah, 28-24, I'm going to go with Kentucky. I am kind of predicting this one if Miller Moss was not able to play. So I'm going with the Wildcats here in the Battle of the Bluegrass. I think they take the Governor's Cup back home to Lexington for 365 days. Next up, Ohio State at Michigan. The game, noon Eastern time, obviously, on Fox. Ohio State favored by 9.5 points. So obviously the game of the weekend, no question about it. Buckeyes versus Michigan, the most heated rivalry in all of college sports. Ohio State, they're coming in undefeated, 11-0. They haven't lost a game this year. Michigan, obviously the pressure on them, because I think if they lose this game, they're definitely out of the college football playoff. And if they win, I think they probably could make a playoff at-large spot. So yeah, definitely a lot of pressure here for Michigan, but definitely a lot more pressure here for Ohio State to kind of show us that how good they are, and if they're still kind of like the same team as they were from last year as a national championship kind of caliber team. So yeah, this is going to be a pretty exciting game, as it always should be. I think it will be a close game like it always will be here between these two teams, but based off of what's happened throughout the year, I think Ohio State's actually been a better team than Michigan. Michigan has a freshman quarterback in Bryce Underwood. Now in the preseason, I picked Michigan to win this game because I feel like Ohio State, their schedule is just too easy for them, and they will have a tough competition against a defense that's on their level, but I don't think it will be enough just based off of performance-wise. I think Ohio State actually does win it, so I think they finally snapped the 4-game losing streak, but Michigan looking to make it 5 in a row. Can they do it? That's obviously a big deal. If Michigan beats Ohio State for the 5th consecutive year in a row, oh boy, you kind of question Ryan Day a little bit if he's ever going to beat Michigan again, and if he does win this one, then Ohio State's kind of back on top in this rivalry. So I'm going Buckeyes here, 24-17 in the game, and the game of the weekend here in college football. Next up, Miami at Pittsburgh. Not a rivalry game, but a game that really matters here. This one is on ABC. Miami favored by 6.5 in this one. Miami coming in, sitting there with 2 losses. Pittsburgh coming in with a win over Georgia Tech. That was a huge win there for them last week. Boy, the backup running back Turner was unstoppable in this game. And, Desmond, I can't really remember their starting running back's name, but, he was out for the game. So, yeah, Pitt didn't really miss him at all. And you look at a lot of, things, a lot of scenarios happening in this game. Miami has to win, I think, in order to make it to the ACC championship, and they will still need a lot of help. They probably need to see SMU lose to Cal. The problem is, though, Cal did fire their head coach, and then also Virginia will probably have to lose as well. For Pittsburgh, if they win, they're automatically in the ACC championship, and I think this is a game that really can go either way. Miami last year lost their last regular season game, and that kept them out of the ACC championship and also the college football playoff. I think that happens again. I think Pitt has momentum going into this game, and I think Pitt actually does win against Miami. 31-27 the final score in this one, and I think that will be enough for the Panthers to get to the ACC championship game. Next up, Oregon at Washington, 3:30 Eastern Time on CBS. Oregon favored by 6.5 points in this one. This is also a big Pacific rivalry here. You got Oregon coming in with 1 loss, a big win over USC last week. Washington coming in 8-3. I haven't watched this team ever since their loss to Wisconsin. That was a bad loss there for Washington. If they would have not lost this game would really matter a lot more for these two teams, because Washington would probably, with 2 losses, they would sit there for an at-large spot in the college football playoff. For Oregon, I don't think there's really much pressure on them. I think they'll automatically get in if they were to lose this game, but the problem is their resume. Are they going to have enough resume with 2 losses to get into the college football playoff? That's definitely a big question mark there for Oregon. I think this game is going to be a shootout. You look at the over and under, it's only at 51.5. I expect this game to be a shootout between these two not pretty even teams. I would give the talent advantage to Oregon, but Washington's got a quarterback that can come at you and run the football, and I think that could give Oregon's defense a little bit of trouble. So I think this is a shootout, but I think Oregon does survive here on the road in a pretty close rivalry game between these two teams. It was pretty close last year, and I do expect another close game. 38-31, the final score in this shootout. And then we got Vanderbilt at Tennessee, 3:30 Eastern Time on ESPN. Tennessee favored by 2.5. Yeah, Tennessee is favored here against Vanderbilt, who is a ranked team, and then also probably the better team in my opinion. But you got Tennessee coming in, a win over, Florida last week. They looked really good, but that was against a bad Florida team, and we'll see how good they are against this Vanderbilt team that has a great defense. They blew out Kentucky last week. So yeah, this one has a chance to be a big-time shootout. The over and under is at 65.5, but, based off of performance, both of these teams, they can pass the football, they can run the football. Vanderbilt's probably more balanced, and they'll probably slow the game down and kind of waste the clock. But I think playing on the road in a very tough environment, I think the pressure really starts to get to Vanderbilt, because I think if they lose this game, they're out of the college football playoff race, and if they win, they will probably, be in. So that's definitely a lot of pressure. I think Tennessee will come in fired up. They ruined Vanderbilt's playoff hopes, and I think it will be a close one. So again, a shootout here, according to the over and under. I think Tennessee, though, does win it here, 41-38. I don't feel confident with this prediction, but it's hard to go against Tennessee when they're playing at home, and I just also think it's a 50-50 game. And then finally, we have the Iron Bowl, Alabama at Auburn. This one is at 7:30 Eastern Time on ABC. Alabama favored by 6.5. A lot of pressure here on the Crimson Tide. If they lose this game, I think they're out of the college football playoff race. If they win, they're automatically in. And then also they get to the SEC championship against, Texas A&M probably if they win, or it could be a potential rematch against probably Georgia. So you never know. So Alabama, again, a lot of pressure. We've seen them struggle here on the road at Auburn at Jordan-Hare. It's one of the toughest places to play at nighttime. Yeah, the Tigers have been an up-and-down team, but they're sitting there at 5-6. This is not a bad Auburn team. They just have lost so many close games, and it could be one of those close games that they lose again, and I think that's what happens here. But I think it's one of those classic Iron Bowl games here at Jordan-Hare Stadium again, just like it always is, even though the game was not even close last year. But I think it does happen. I think it will be close, but Alabama does prevail. They do survive here, and I think they do advance to the SEC championship and then also get an automatic bid into the college football playoff as an at-large team. So Alabama wins it 21-17, and those are my official game picks and predictions heading into the weekend of Rivalry weekend of week number 14 of the 2025 college football season. So give me your thoughts on my game picks and predictions, and then also give me your predictions for these 10 games down in the comments below. Happy Thanksgiving. Thank you for watching this video and enjoy the college football weekend on the NCAA College Sports YouTube channel.